Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Saturday. Good morning, I guess, or good afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. I want to thank you guys for joining in on a fan favorite video, the Pocket Change Market Report. This time for September 18th, 2021. Okay, can we just take a moment and just really address the white elephant in the room? I mean, seriously, it's September 18th. We are over halfway through the month. I felt like that summer had just closed out, and the coin market was still pretty good. It was quite healthy. I'm not going to say it's like dynamite, like there's fireworks happening all over the place, but overall, I like where the coin market's going, and we're still seeing that on the pocket change side of things. Now, these are all coins that, of course, are raw. They're ungraded. There are a lot of coins that just don't need to be graded because they are highly identifiable as they sit. So why spend the extra, $30, $40, maybe even $100, because that's how much you're going to pay for the submission and attribution fee for errors through PCGS. I mean, why go through all the trouble of spending that kind of scratch on a $20, $30 error? When you could just go and flip it and make that kind of money raw. The same coin will be worth right around that same amount of money. It doesn't matter if it's graded or raw. And that's what we do here. Coins that traditionally you would find in bank rolls, going through a change jar, pocket change, at the end of the day. And even on the cherry picking side, people like to go to coin shops. They like to attend coin shows. They like to go through raw dealer inventory and just find some things that, these dealers have missed. There are a lot of coin dealers and coin shops, by the way, that don't really care about the various errors and varieties you're going to see on this video. So, that's a good opportunity for folks like you and I to take advantage and, make a few extra dollars in the process, or possibly add that piece to your collection that you've been looking for. We talk about it all on here. We have a nice group of coins. We have 32 coins to talk about today. Hopefully it'll get your collective juices going as we head into, the more meat and potatoes of the weekend for you guys to search through, and I'll say it, if you have the opportunity to grab some bank rolls at this point, considering that people are throwing around the whole coin shortage thing again, I would certainly do so, because if we're going to have this conversation in November when everybody's doing it and there's no coins to be had at the bank level, then it's going to be one of those I told you so moments. All right, enough about that. Let's go ahead and jump into the first set of coins. Keep an eye out for the grade of every coin that we're going to talk about. There's no super high-end graded coins on the list. There might be less than 5 out of the 30 plus coins we're talking about. But generally, a lot of these coins are going to be very well circulated. And in spite of its circulation or its appearance, they do have a pretty good value to collectors. Here's the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Cent, and on the reverse, it's got a detached lamination peel. The thing's huge. But this probably happened many eons ago because it's circulated, and you have like grease and gunk and dirt built up into the areas where the lamination once was. But yeah, this is like one of those finds that you come across on a regular basis, especially if you like to search through wheat cent bags, which I love to do. I go through anywhere from 10 to 20,000 wheat cents per month. And I find all sorts of laminations. It's like one of the most common errors during the wheat cent period. 1940s, 1950s, you see them in those two particular decades quite a bit. This one right here is sold for $28.50. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of money for what I call a minor error. And on the same side, I mean, this coin is not in fantastic shape, and generally you're gonna end up finding something like this in like a bulk kind of tray of Indian head cents. Usually dealers like to let these go for like 75 cents to $1. This is a 1907. I mean, if you know your mint errors, this is a really good one to spot. This one has a retained die break or pre-cut. So eventually this piece of die would fall out. I don't know if there's actually a full-blown CUD version of the same coin and date. I would like to see it, actually. That thing would be quite impressive. But this is you can see the crack and you can see the displacement and shift of that piece of die that is just literally hanging on by a thread. I mean, you know, in the perfect world, just imagine this. You bought this coin for $1 or two. Let's say the coin dealer didn't really pay attention because that's what they like to do for the minor stuff. But this is kind of like a fringy fine 15. You know, it's got a few letters in Liberty, the tops of it. That's pretty evident. But, you know, it's really that retained CUD that's putting a lot of spice on this one. This one sold for $67, and that's through 6 bids. I mean, that's a heck of a find, and I would, you know, I would not be a very good coin guy if I didn't tell you, be on the lookout for these. Cherry pick them till your heart's content, because they're out there. And they also show up on the reverse quite a bit more, too, and they are still pretty valuable. I've seen a lot of those sell for like 20 to 40 bucks, depending on size. Now, here's a cool one. Probably unlikely to find, you know, in like a bankroll or anything like that, but it's a undated Jefferson nickel. As you can see, it's got 2 separate strikes on there. They call this a saddle strike. So the mid presses, you know, have a number of different striking chambers, and if this one is in between 2 of those, it's going to strike twice. Okay, but you won't have the primary strike in the middle. Technically, it's not a double struck coin. Saddle strike is the terminology for this. This one right here is sold for $51.13, and a total of 8 bids combined got it to that price. We got some paper money this week. We have actually a few pretty nice ones. We're going to start off this this episode with a 1977 $10 Federal Reserve note. Now, the note looks to be in pretty decent shape. It does have a few fold areas, so it's not like a crisp, uncirculated, straight from a BEP pack type of note. This one definitely has circulated, but on the front, it doesn't look like anything spectacular. But when we look at the back, we have the front to back partial offset or wet ink transfer error. As these sheets are being printed, they're also being stacked. All right, and it's in rapid succession too. The whole process is pretty quick, but you know the sheets will still be a little bit wet, so when they're overlapping the other sheets, you'll get a little bit of that transfer. They're quite common during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Okay, and then we've seen a few of them on the newer notes, but they are actually quite scarce. But if you could find them, that would be a heck of a find. This one right here, believe it or not, sold for $76.50, and that's a total of 21 bids for this price. Here's a dollar bill right here. As you can see, it's got a void right there, pretty close to the middle next to Mr. George Washington, but that is a gutter fold. And again, this was printed on a sheet that had a wrinkle in it, and the wrinkle never got pulled out. So when it prints over, it's going to look like this after you stretch out the note of that wrinkle. But on the back of the note, as you can see, between the first printing and the second printing, they actually did stretch out the paper a little bit because you have, you know, the complete printing on here. What did this one sell for? $48.50. This is kind of like on the lower end of paper note errors between these and the wet ink transfers and all that great stuff, ink smears. Those are considered like the lower tier errors that you could find, but they're all pretty relevant and they're all quite valuable. Yeah, 48 bucks. Not too bad for this one. And the note is very well circulated. So this one did make its way, you know, through the daily, you know, commerce activities, you know, people buying and selling stuff. And you know, these did end up in wallets and, you know, in cash registers. And it's kind of hard to believe that these would even go unlooked for such a while. Now we have a pretty cool one here, and you don't see this that often on the newer coins. This is a 1995 Lincoln Memorial Cent. This one has, and I also integrated a close-up of Liberty here. There is actually a die break that's combining the letter I in Liberty and B Okay, normally we see this between the B and E, and they call them BIE errors. This one is the IIB, and this one is attributed in the Cuds on Coins website, if I'm not mistaken. But these are, just as valuable as regular BIE cents, and because it's on a much more modern coin, they are a lot tougher to find. All right, so this one right here sold for $19.99. If you do come across them, just keep in mind that these are worth some money, and of course, grade is everything when it comes to coins. The higher the grade, the more money that you'll receive for these errors and varieties. Here's our first lot of the video. This is a 4-coin error lot, and this is actually quite interesting. So from the top left, that is, believe it or not, a blank Ike dollar planchet. It's a type 2. It's got the upset rim. You could just kind of see that kind of like how it comes up toward the edge there. So that is what that is. That's neat. You don't see that often. We have a broad struck, what looks to be statehood quarter with an indent. All right. And then we have 2 broad struck coins, 1 nickel and 1 penny. And, unfortunately, the pictures were dark enough that you can't really see what the date is on the nickel and the cent. I would say it's like a 1994 or something like that. It's not your atypical date for errors. Here are the reverse images. That is a Delaware quarter, by the way. Between the Ike dollar planchet and the quarter, that's what really produced a lot of value for this particular lot. And here is a better close-up on that Delaware quarter. Just an overall pretty neat coin. And this is something that you don't traditionally see out there in circulation. And it's kind of hard to say if this one did see any circulation. It looks to be in really good shape. But I always tell folks, look out for these lots. Okay, the big reason why is when someone's selling something in bulk. Okay, theoretically, you are getting the coins per piece for a lot cheaper than, say, if you were going to buy them as a singular coin. So it only makes sense to pick up some of these lots. If they're priced cheap enough, you could turn around and sell each coin individually and hopefully double or triple your money. Now, this one, even though it's sold for a lot of money, and it did sell for $119.45, and that's through 29 bids, this is a very active listing here. This one is, I think there's still room for opportunity. Okay, maybe not quite 2x your money, but I've seen blank planchet Ike dollars go for around $100 by themselves. And this coin right here, because it is the first in in the series of the statehood quarters, is just as relevant. It's got a lot of things. And I just noticed this. I did not see this, but there's a strike through right on the horse on that reverse. Some of you are probably screaming at the screen right now, saying, "Hey, why didn't you say anything about that?" But yeah, I caught a glimpse of it last second, and I just saw it right now. But wow, 3 different errors on this coin. I would think that this would be, if you sold this one coin by itself, would sell probably for between $50 and $100. That's quite a range, but you just never know. Okay, it really depends on when this thing ends at. If it ends like on a Friday, you probably end up with the higher end of the scale. If it sells at like 5 a.m. on the East Coast or something, then, more than likely it's not going to generate the amount of bids and activity because a lot of people are still asleep. But this is really cool. I mean, you can't really, find something quite this unique out there. And someone scored a really good deal in this particular error lot. And the broad strikes, figure you could get like 10 to 20 bucks a piece for those. So, you could definitely make some money off of this one. Again, just recognizing how much the coins on an individual level would sell for on the secondary market is of huge importance before you go and put your bid in. But $119, yeah, you could easily push this one past 200 bucks if you did resell all your coins. All right, so we have a pretty cool, very circulated 1979 P. This is a Philadelphia minted Susan B. Anthony dollar. Everyone's favorite coin they love to hate. That's exactly what this is, because they are about the size of a standard US quarter. This one, slightly broad struck, if not maybe a partial tilted collar, is what I'm thinking on this. You can kind of see that wedge right there on the edge of this part right here, which kind of leads me to believe that this is indeed a partial tilted collar. So the collar, which normally holds the coin in the striking chamber, is slightly tilted a little bit. So, yeah, that's what we got here. This particular coin sold for $22.50. Any error on a Susan B. Anthony is quite scarce. You just don't see them that often. All right, on to a few of the usual suspects. We have a 2000 Lincoln Memorial Cent. This one is, of course, off-center, and, you know, it is one of the more common dates for off-center struck coins. So, like, 98 to 2001 is kind of like that sweet spot where you did see a lot of off-center struck coins and broad strikes and things like that. This one is off-center by about 20%, and this one sold for $17.94. Just a decent-looking coin. You know, it's considered mint state, but I'm not going to say it's like the premier look for a mint state coin. This is one probably is a mint state 63 red, maybe 64 on its best day, but you know that's what we have here. If you need one for a collection, this is a decent example. Here's a 99. This time it's a broad strike and it's so mild. I mean, this would be one of those coins you could easily find in a roll with some diligent searching, but you could see it's slightly broad struck. Not by much though. This one would certainly get away from a lot of eagle-eyed collectors that aren't particularly focused on this. This one sold for $16.99, which is a pretty good amount of money for as minor as this one is. Here's another one, a very well-loved, beat-up 1952 P. It's a Philadelphia Lincoln Wheat Cent. But yeah, you check out Lincoln's dome piece right there. It's got a big old interior die break right there that looks like a raptor claw, you know. it's pretty insane actually. I've found a few of these, and I think I've even thrown a few back, but I might have to go back into my wheat cent bags, and I got them piled up all over the place and looking for these interior die breaks. They are referred to as cracked skulls, you know, as kind of like a nickname that these have been given over the years. But a coin in this condition, I mean, it did sell for $7.80. So take it for what it is. It doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, but geez, 780 times face value, I will take any day of the week, because, you know, you got to take the small deals with the big, and they all add up in the end. Here's another good one here, 1956 D. Of course, this is like the key date of the 50s where you can find a lot of repunched mint marks, and this is a big one. This is the FS 501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, double D, no pun intended. This is the D over D RPM. The secondary D is west of the primary on this. So, yeah, this one right here, pretty easy to see because the mint mark is actually really close to the date. It's actually wedged or almost in between the 9 and the 5 in the date. And so, you know, when you're looking through these and you notice with the naked eye that the mint mark is like really close to the date, you generally pull those aside because it might be the RPM. This one sold for $22.95. And by the way, check out that grade. It's nothing to really write home to mother about. It's just a really well circulated coin, probably like an XF40. I don't know what the staining is here on the reverse. It might just be some extra oxidation on this coin, but there you go. That's what we got there. Here's a 98. Of course, we got to check in with a good old wide AEM reverse market. So we just have this one this week, 1998. Wide AM, you could see the clearly defined space between the A and M in America. This is actually a die that was intended for proof strikes. All right, so it's a you know, kind of like a transitional type of design change from the business strike dies to the proof dies, and they got crossed up somewhere along the line. But it's a relatively pleasing example. It's not gonna, you know, take your breath away. This one sold for $13.20. And again, guys, these are very common. You have no idea how many examples of the 98s and 2000s the US Mint produced, but it's got to be thousands of pieces, and there's bound to be more out there because even I've found some, and I'm here on the West Coast. So there you go. Here's a 1989. This one is off center by what, like 35%, somewhere around there, but you know, tougher date. It is a copper-coated zinc alloy planchet, and you'll notice that there is a lot of corrosion happening here on the back of the coin. But still, you know, it's a coin with desirability. It's not nothing, that's for sure. This one sold for $15.99. So someone picked this up as a buy it now listing. And I would say they probably needed it for a date set, I would say. Any off-center struck coin with a full date is going to be desirable in some respect. So keep that in mind. Here's a neat one, and this one has had a few kind of like rumors as to what it could be. It's a 1955 S Lincoln Wheat Cent. It's in extraordinary shape, a nice red mint state example. This one has that die chip in the 5. And a lot of people had said, well, I think that's a misplaced mint mark. That's got to be a D mint mark. No, it's not. That's been refuted by professionals in the industry, in the hobby, as just being a die chip. All right, so yeah, there you go. But it's nice. It's big, and it fills in that bottom curl of the 5. It's sold for $7.03. So usually if you're going through a BU roll, you find one. More than likely you're going to find more. But just think, $5 to $10 a pop for these. Again, all adds up. Here's one you don't see every day, a 1990. This is a Philadelphia struck Jefferson nickel. This one features a slightly off-center strike. You know, you could probably even make the case that it is also an uncentered broad strike. But you could see some of the edge letters here cut off, so that's probably more of a off-center strike, like 10%, somewhere around there. Again, it's not substantial, but the coin is in really nice shape. If I didn't know any better, I'd say it even has full steps on Monticello as well. This one sold for $28. Yeah, go get you some, guys. I mean, you know, this is a rather common, very minor error to be found on some of the newer coins, and you know, $28 is a good chunk of money to sell this for. And here's another one here as well, 2003 P Roosevelt dime. This one's probably more broad struck because you do still have a semblance of some sort of rim here on the obverse. So, you know, I mean, just a really nice, pleasing coin, 2003 Philadelphia. And if you were looking for something like this, there are going to be buyers for them and sellers. This one sold for $12. Not too shabby. Here's another 2000 Lincoln Memorial, slightly out of focus. This is from, you know, one of the usual sellers on eBay. This one is off center by about, I don't know, 25%, somewhere around there. This one, however, is in really nice shape. And I think for someone that's looking for higher end examples, someone's going to definitely pick this one up. And it sold for $14.49. Here's another slightly broad-struck Jefferson nickel. Not nearly as strong as the example we saw before at the 1990, but we have a 99p. If you're looking to pick up a pre-millennial Jefferson nickel with a little bit of additional heat to it, this is the one here for you. This is a coin that is slightly bigger than a normal Jefferson nickel, and you would still be able to find something like this in a bankroll if you were looking. This one right here is sold for $23.74. Again, another shocker in terms of its value. And I think that the grade certainly helps on this one. People that pick these up generally want something with eye appeal, and this one has it all. We do have, strangely enough, back-to-back, we got two listings here of a Bicentennial $50. These Kennedys were never really the talk of the town compared to the Bicentennial quarter, and in some ways the Eisenhower dollar as well. The Kennedy always played third fiddle in terms of just the popularity and desirability of the coins. But they seem to have picked up a little bit of steam here in the last 3 years, and any sort of error that you could find on these, people do notice. Now, this one looks like it came right out of a roll, right? People are looking for silver. These silver half dollars command, what, $8, somewhere around there. But this is a just standard copper nickel clad Bicentennial that were made into the millions. So they are quite common. But keep in mind, it's a Denver, but it also has a pretty cool little strike through. I mean, this would generally be missed by 99% of the roll hunters who were just focused on finding silver. But yeah, look, so we have some clogged die action here. So the die, so a few of those letters had some just impacted grease and debris. And when they strike onto the coin, well, there's going to be nothing there. So yeah, that's what sold this coin here. And 3 bids altogether, yeah, people were noticing. It sold for $7.75. I'm just laughing at this because, I've thrown back these. I'm like, hey, man, they are so minor. It's not even worth just giving the extra attention. But now I'm gonna have to because if I could sell every single one for $5 to $10, I mean, sign me up. And I've actually seen some of these where there are half of Independence and Hall completely obliterated by clogged dies. So there are different progressions of that, and they didn't get noticed by a Mint employee until way later, till many examples popped up in circulation with half the letters missing. So that's pretty remarkable. Here's the other one I was talking about. Hey, look at that. Another Denver minted Bicentennial. This one has an extraordinary sized curved clip. I mean, the thing is huge. And it's also got the Blakesley effect. You can just see the flattened area right here, opposite to the edge where the curved clip is. But, again, not something that you typically see on a Kennedy half dollar in terms of error type. This one sold for $102.50. So that's a very nice amount of money. It's got a full date in some way, because you know what it is. Okay, this one's really cool, and it's a 1981A series $20 Federal Reserve note. It's in pretty nice shape. The pictures aren't fantastic, and there were 8 to 10 photos on this listing, but we have a full front and back picture to show you. The front looks pretty standard, pretty typical. It's actually quite well centered as far as the margins are concerned. But look at the back. The entire second print was way misaligned. All right. No, this is nothing that you could forge. Okay. Unlike other notes where you have a cutting error because you could actually buy a full sheet and then cut them on your own. This is something that you can't fake because the reverse print was way misaligned compared to where the front print is on there. I mean, pretty extraordinary. The price was extraordinary too. I have a feeling that this will probably end up in a graded holder at some point. It sold for $604.44. Not something you see, of course, on a regular basis in the currency market. But this one did show up and someone did take advantage of a raw deal. Raw, graded deal, and not a raw deal as in, someone got screwed. And I just want to point that out. We do have another lot of Lincoln cents. Again, this is a seller that sold a number of these here in the last few weeks. Another lot of 6 Lincoln cents. 5 of them are all off center. 4 of them have no dates, so take for what that is. They're going to be the less desirable out of the bunch. The coin on the bottom right is the 1987. It's off center by about 55%. And then you do have another, it looks to be 1982, I believe. That one is broad struck. It's on the top right there. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is another lot to keep an eye out for resale. This one sold for $26.25. And that's with 13 individual bids that got up to that price level. There's the reverse image. The the appearance of that broad strike does not look very good there on the reverse. We got some corrosion and other carbon spotting going on. 1976D, off-center struck Lincoln Memorial. This one looks to be off-center by about 60%. A tougher date because it is a Denver. Any Denver or San Francisco minted off-center Lincoln cent truly does command a lot more money on the secondary market because, you know, people are collecting these by date and mint. And when something infrequently comes up, there's going to be a gang of people that are going to notice. This one right here sold for $31.01, and that's 14 bids altogether to get it up to that amount of money. Another cool one right here. How about Connecticut Statehood Quarter? And what's the theme for the day? Denver Mint, all right? Do not overlook Denver Mint stuff. I know us here on the West Coast have had kind of a difficult time finding some really good stuff because the Philadelphia Mint just loves to screw up on their minting process, and that's okay. There's a lot of us that are taking advantage of that. But Denver Mint, come on now. Strike-throughs and all sorts of weird stuff have been popping up here the last few years. Here's a 99D Connecticut with 2 curved clips. Very nice, very pleasing. It's got the Blakesley effect. That's pretty well evident on this coin. And what did this one sell for? $17.50, and that's with 4 bids. Just a decent looking circulated 1977 Philadelphia Washington Quarter. This one is broad struck. All right, so that's the kind of error that we have here. And this one sold for $12.26, and that's with 3 bids. Not a super dramatic broad strike. I've seen a lot crazier. I actually own a 78 that's just way insane compared to this one. But, you know, again, if you're collecting by date and you can't find a 77, there will be a number of people that's going to try and settle for something like this. Here's a 72D Lincoln Memorial. Wow, struck through a ton of grease. Like probably the whole can of grease just about was on that that hammer die or the obverse die that was on there. So yeah, when it strikes through a bunch of grease, a lot of the details are going to be quite weak, and that's what we have here. It does have a few problems. It's got a few scratches and digs in there. So not a crazy example to add to a collection, but if you were a reseller and you found something like this, you know, good opportunity. Sold for $12.50, and that's with 6 bids. A lot of struck through grease coins that have been kind of heating up the market, by the way, are on new coins. Like we're talking 2020, 2021. You usually see coins that sell for like 25 to 50 bucks. And, you know, these are very common errors. So if you're not looking for these, or maybe if you're confused as to what is happening, some would say, whoa, that thing circulated a lot. I mean, generally I would agree, but, you know, when you have a reverse strike that's as strong as this, while the other side is pretty weak, that's exactly what you have. So, I mean, not bad for it having some scratches, $12.50. If it didn't have the scratches, this would probably be a $20 bill. And there you go, case in point. Another interesting, albeit kind of like needle in a haystack. Someone really reached pretty good to market this one, but it's an American Samoa 2020 ATB quarter. And yeah, check out that little tiny die chip right there, right above the bat's eye. Of course, the coin is upside down. The bats are really upside down on the coin. Or actually, the main mama bat right there, and then the little baby bat is right side up. Yeah, it's just strange the way that this was designed. But yeah, that is indeed a tiny little die chip right there. Pictures weren't great, but I threw this one in here because it was worth a shot. $12 is what this one realized at the end of the day. So, you know, it just goes to show you there's some pretty interesting things to be found out there. You could take good pictures and you can make a few bucks on them. Oh, this is pretty neat. 1966 Lincoln Memorial. This can't be a very common date because I haven't seen any of the tri-year Lincoln Memorials that were off-center and actually looked decent. This one right here still has some mint red in the protected areas of the coin. All right, so that's worth mentioning, even on the reverse as well. A little bit of a strike through on the word of here. So there was probably a little bit of a clogged die issue since it's kind of isolated to those two letters. And this one sold for $28. Okay, not a premium off-center strike, but it might do for a collector. Now, one of the more crazier coins, and yeah, that is indeed staining and carbon spotting all over the place. So already not a fantastic looking coin, but 1980D. Yes, we got another Denver minted Lincoln here. That is off-center by about 25-30%, and it's clipped. So this was minted off-center on a clipped planchet. That's what we have here. And yeah, pretty crazy. You don't see these that often. Usually these are found in mint-sewn bags. That's going to be your best bet. Or, finding them on the show circuit. This one sold for $69.84. Again, a very unique error, and because it's a dual error, that's what people love. So in case you guys are ever curious as to what a Lincoln cent that was struck through a incredibly late die state cap looks like, it's going to look like this. Okay, so the seller thought that it was a struck through grease, but it is actually a lot more than that. Look how strong the reverse strike is. It does have a little bit of a scratch here on E pluribus unum. But that die cap was used, to the point where it was like razor sharp thin. And when it's pretty thin like that, you do get some of the design details that are struck on there. Like, it's a 1970. We knew exactly what the date is. And you could see Liberty, and you could see some of the motto, and you could totally see Lincoln's profile on there. It's pretty strong. This one sold for $42. That's insane to me, because I found a few of these out there. Not very, very late die state caps, but I've seen my fair share of pretty wild ones. And as much as I want to sell them, and it's like, I feel like it's just not the time. I don't need the $20 or whatever it is. So, there was that as well. But man, if you guys are looking to make a few extra bucks and you're going through Lincolns, yeah, definitely keep an eye out on these. Anything with a weak strike on one side will be a dead giveaway for what you have. And then the final coin is going to be our subject coin of the week. Man, this thing, I have not seen this in years. Probably like 5 years. 1997. Lincoln Memorial Cent. I guarantee you, a lot of people have overlooked this by a lot. The coin is in great shape, but you notice all that stuff going on the reverse. That is actually a wildly damaged die. Now, consider it maybe possibly feeder finger scrapes that have scraped all along this area here and through the part of the die, like the inside bays, are going to be raised on the working dies, and they probably got scraped along, and then they came out through the bottom here. Just an incredibly obnoxious looking coin. I don't think a lot of people are looking for these, and you guys should look for them, because the earlier feeder finger scrapes and die gouges are a little bit tougher to find compared to what we see today, because the mint really did screw up in 2020. We did see a lot of coins with this particular anomaly on there, but this one sold for $39.45. That's easy money right there. Pretty cool coin, and such a really nice condition as well. But now that wraps it up. I wouldn't exactly say that was a quick video, but it sure was exciting, and hopefully again it'll stimulate you guys to do that extra bit of searching this weekend. If you like coins, if you like hunting, if you like the thrill of the hunt, then you've come to the right place. And if you did, feel free to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to my channel. It's the best amount of support that you could give me. I don't offer memberships or subscriptions or Patreons. Nothing like that. The only thing that I owe you guys is great content, and I hopefully have delivered again this week. But that's it. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. I wish you guys the best in all of your hunting endeavors. Take it in stride. It's a great hobby with a lot to look forward to. And that's it. Coinaholics, we are discovering together. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on the next coin video. So long.